live in a small town in Texas. For as long as I can remember, everyone has told stories of our high school being haunted. Before I begin, I will give you some background info. The high school was built, I believe, in the 1920s. As the years have gone by, the school has been expanded on, but the original building is still there. It is in the part of the building that most of the weird experiences have happened. These are all stories told to me mostly by the teachers. I've never experienced anything myself. I will try to remember everything. As a side note, this all occurred in the original part of the building. On with the stories. To start with, one of the classrooms in the old building belongs to Miss P. I won't mention anyone's name for privacy reasons. She has told me that there is a cold spot in the corner of the room. She has placed a large cabinet in the corner because her students will frequently mess around there. She also told me of a time when she was picking up for summer vacation and had neatly stacked all her books up on the desk before leaving for the night. She was the only person there at the time, and she locked the room up. The next morning, she returned to her room and found all the books she had stacked open, thrown throughout the room. I've taken her class, and sometimes without warning, the mobiles on her ceiling will move, but there is no breeze to move them. Also, the smell of lemons can be smelled by everyone every once in a while. Sometimes when she has her own scented candles, of which are never lemon. The main hauntings, I guess you could say, come from the gym. For years, people have had strange things happen. About 4 summers ago, we had a teacher bring in some paranormal investigators to have a look at the high school gym. They told us that the center of energy, I guess, is located under the gym in the girls' weight room. This made sense on several occasions because the punching bag down there, which is very heavy, will swing violently on its own. Also, in pictures taken of the girls' basketball team, a white haze can be seen in the top corner of the picture near the basketball goal. I've seen this picture. My friend is a photographer for the yearbook, and in a lot of her pictures taken in the old high school, white balls called orbs can be seen floating around, and even my teacher has seen them floating around as well. Anyway, the investigators took video of the gym while they were walking around, and twice, when they crossed the gym, they were followed by a burst of light, I guess is the best way to describe it. They also left a tape recorder in the weight room during the investigation, and upon listening to it, heard voices that sounded raspy and so far off of what a usual voice would sound like. I will never forget what the voices said though. The reason we view the tape and listen to the recording is because the head of the investigation has a website that she has posted this on. They said, and I quote, "No one hears us." I just thought I would share this with you all. After reading the many experiences of others on this website, I attend this high school currently. Many rumors fly around about who the ghost can be. The most reasonable is that of an old janitor who died, and also some of the high school students who were involved in a car crash. I don't know what year that was, but many people believe that they could be there as well. The investigator doesn't believe they are harmful, but she also recommended not trying to contact them as well. She believes they inhabit the gym because that used to be a high source of energy, with pep rallies, athletics, and such. That is all I know. After reading some of the stories here, I thought I would like to take this opportunity to share an experience I had back in 1992 and 93 in an apartment my friend and I were living in at the time. It was a relatively new apartment complex at the time, only 3 years old. Things were innocuous enough to begin with, so neither my friend nor I really thought anything was odd. Items of food, jewelry, or clothing would disappear and reappear frequently, days or weeks later, in strange places, other than those where they had originally belonged. We each thought the other person was misplacing these items and forgetting we'd moved them. It was quite amusing at times to open up the cupboard and find the cheese in with the dinner plates or the chicken pies in your closet. Oh, and socks used to disappear a lot. Well, usually one, but I think that was the washing machine eating them. Often, there would be a dark shape out of the corner of your eye, and when you turned to look, there was nobody there. I mean, you could feel someone there too. Laying in bed at night, I would hear the front door open and footsteps walking across the living room, and thinking it was my roommate coming in from her night out, I would call out to her and get no reply. She hadn't come home. No one was home except for me. I was woken up one night by voices whispering very close by. I thought it was someone chatting outside my bedroom window at 3 o'clock in the morning, but when I woke up more fully, I realized it was coming from my bedside radio. But the radio was not turned on. It was not even plugged in. The TV would turn on by itself. Usually when we were in bed, it would come on really loudly and startle you awake, and it wasn't even on a channel we even liked to watch. One night, my friend had volunteered to sleep in the living room on the couch because my friend and daughters were over for a visit. Another long story, and my daughters had taken her bedroom over. Lynn told me the next day that during the night, she had been woken up by the feeling of someone standing over her. She said the feeling was very intense, and at this point, she had not opened her eyes, and she just knew someone was standing over her, watching her. She at first thought it was either myself or one of my daughters, but for some reason didn't want to look. Eventually she said she had to look, and as soon as she opened her eyes, the feeling was gone, and nobody was there. My family and I were all fast asleep. Then, over a period of time, things became even more weird. We had some fresh skim milk in the fridge, just bought that morning from the local 7-Eleven, which was only across the parking lot of where we lived. A short time later, we went to use the milk, and it was curdled. No harm done. We took it back to the store, and they gave us another fresh carton. We took the carton, and it sounded normal, so off we trotted home for our tea. We opened up this carton to pour into our tea, and lo and behold, curdled again. I mean thick, lumpy, sludgy goo. Not weak, watery, skimmed milk. So, thinking this was just bad luck, when all we wanted was a cup of tea, we took it back again. The store clerk must have thought we were boiling it or something, but gave us another carton, and after we shook it a few times and squeezed it to try and determine if it was fresh, we took it home. But that one was curdled too. We gave up on having our cup of tea at that point. Not long after that, I awoke one morning, and my ring finger felt sore. I looked down at my hand, and my engagement ring was buckled. It wasn't a little bent, but completely buckled into a triangle shape. It had been perfectly fine when I went to bed, and my wedding ring was normal. It was extremely hard to get off of my finger, and when I did finally get it off, it wasn't not only bent, but actually broken almost completely through the gold band in 3 places. I don't know how a ring could even be broken, even if I had laid on my hands. I mean, they would only have pressed the ring into the mattress, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that is enough pressure to bend a diamond ring. Of course, maybe hubby had bought me a ring out of a lucky bag. Never thought of that. I took it to a jeweler for repair, and he said in all his years as a jeweler, he'd never seen a ring broken like that. After having it repaired, a short time later, I somehow managed to drop 5 rings in the shower, and the only one that disappeared down the plug hole, never to be seen again, was this engagement ring. All my other rings stayed in one place. I realize none of these events are horrifying. Apart from the curdled milk, have you ever seen skim milk curdle in 2 minutes or less? But this one is the only house or living quarters that have experienced any strange occurrences like this, so I thought this was the place to share it. We do. Both my friend and I believe that there is something wrong with that apartment, as the feelings and events were getting stronger and less friendlier the longer we stayed there. Eventually, we moved out into another apartment in the same complex and never had any other things like that occur. I was often tempted to go and ask the new occupants if anything weird happened to them, but didn't want them to think we were crazy. A couple of years ago, me and my dad moved in with my new stepmom. Everything was going just fine. I just got a new horse, so everything was perfect. Well, one night, when I went to bed, everything was normal. And just so you understand the story better, I'll explain what my room looked like. I had my rat cage by my bed, and at the foot of my bed, I had my computer that I always left on. And on this night, I had extra blankets on my computer chair. Well, I just turned off my bedside light and was staring at my screensaver until I fell asleep. But while I was staring at the computer, something seemed different. It seemed closer than usual. It seemed to be getting even closer. So I looked at the opposite wall, and it seemed to be getting closer. Then it stopped abruptly, and everything seemed to be back to normal. I just thought maybe I fell asleep. So I shook it out of my mind. Then everything seemed to be not normal again, and somehow I seemed to know what was coming, because all I could think of was to keep an eye on that door, the bedroom door. Then, a black-shaped, shadowy man came in. Well, of course I was scared. Then he walked to the side of my bed and just stood there, did nothing but stand there. He then walked back to my doorway and then turned to stare at me again. So my thought was run past him and get to my parents' room. I thought this was all a dream. So I got out of bed and started to run to my door and get past this man. Well, I wasn't able to get past this man because it felt like an invisible force field and I was frozen there, like I couldn't even move. I tried moving, but I was paralyzed. The man just stood there for about 2 minutes. Then my light turned on and my dad walked into the door and the man vanished. He asked me what was wrong and I told him about the man that was in my room. Then I asked him if he saw me paralyzed and that I couldn't move, thinking maybe it was a dream and I dreamed I walked into him. But he said no. He woke because he heard me scream, "Please, Daddy, help me, Dad, help." I can bet my life I never said that. This isn't the only time I've seen this man. When me and my family were vacationing in Mexico, I had a nightmare and my parents woke me up and brought me over to their room. This hotel room had 2 rooms and a bath to calm me down. The lights were off, of course, but they had the bedroom light on so there wouldn't be too much light in the room, and I was sitting on their bed. Then, I looked over at a couch that was in their room, and there was a shadowy man sitting there, laughing at me. So he started screaming, because of course, I was scared, and my parents didn't know why I was screaming. But the man was still sitting there and laughing, and I was trying to point this out to my parents, but they couldn't see him. One day when my family was out, I stayed home by myself. I then started to feel a breeze, so then I went to go get a blanket, and I felt like someone was watching me. I went upstairs to my room, and I saw a really bright shadow. I got frightened, so I started running to my room, but right then, my door opened. I went inside. I saw a glare near my bed, and its image started showing up. It looked like a little girl, so I told her to leave me alone. Covering myself up, I felt a chill. I started crawling to the hallway near the steps, and it was standing right there in front of me. My parents came home right then, so they tried to open the front door, but I went to open it, but it was already unlocked. I told them what had happened. They couldn't believe what I was saying. I went to go drink some water, then I went to sleep, but I couldn't. It seemed like the little girl was watching me. I can still see her to this day, but it does not frighten me. It sometimes seems like she is talking to me. I can tell when she is there because I either get the chills or I feel as someone is touching me. I moved not too long ago, but I will always remember her. I wish I knew what she was trying to tell me or leave me alone. I will remember that forever. My family had moved into this house. The old owner, a middle-aged man, moved because of the memories. 2 years earlier, his wife had died giving childbirth. Soon after that, we moved in. My older brother decided to move back in and took the room across from mine. hated my room. It was always cold, and I was scared to be in it by myself. I would lay on my bed and watch TV. 2 times I saw ghosts. My dad sometimes went in my brother's room to play his PlayStation, and out of the corner of my eye, in broad daylight, I would see an older man, slightly bald, wearing a white shirt, and walk into my brother's room. I thought it was my dad, but the lights didn't turn on, and my dog started to cry. Soon after, I saw a young girl walk into my brother's room. She had long, dark brown hair and was wearing a white nightgown. We have a mirror at the end of the hall between our rooms, and while walking down the hall a couple of times, I would see people behind me. One time, there was a very tall, skinny man standing behind me about 10 feet, staring into the mirror. I told my mom, and she thought it was funny. She gave him the name Frank. A second time I was walking down the hall, I looked up into the mirror, and a dark figure with a flowing dress ran across the hall. Then one night, I was sleeping and was woken up by a man standing beside my bed, staring at me and breathing deeply. I was too scared to move or talk. After I fell asleep, I had a dream about the devil. I swear I felt like I was awake and something was holding me down. I couldn't even move my head. After those things happened, I wouldn't go to sleep until my brother got home. And one night, after he got home, I decided to sleep on the couch in the living room. My eyes were shut and it was dark. We have big speakers and there was a flower pot on them by the window. I heard the flower pot slide across the speaker, but was too scared to even open up my eyes. I was lying on my back with one arm under the blanket and one arm on top of the blanket. Not a minute after, I heard the flower pot move. Something grabbed my hand and squeezed it. I swung my arm out and didn't hit anything, so I quickly opened my eyes and turned on the light behind me, but nothing was there. I was so scared, I couldn't sleep for days. My brother moved out soon after, and I took his room. Ever since, I've been told in his old room, strange things stopped happening. My family moved into our LA, Orange County home about 18 years ago. So I've been here all 16 years of my life. When I was little, I always fancied my invisible friend, who I've recently called Eric. I talked to him up until I was about 5, so my parents told me. Then I stopped. When I turned 15, I started seeing things. Out of the corner of my eye, while I was on the computer, I would see a figure in black standing in the doorway to my room. My computer is in my parents' room, being they have the alternate phone line. Their door is directly down the hall from mine. You can look through my door from theirs. I would also smell odd smells, like death or some sort of fish, when none is cooking. There will also be cold spots in the same part of the downstairs hallway, where most of the activity has taken place. Occasionally, even, I will feel a hand on top of mine while I'm waiting for something, such as when my parents were yelling on the phone when they found out my mom was unable to get a much-needed surgery. Luckily for me, that's not all. There was an instance where I actually heard something. I sat in the salon, doing my homework as I normally did. I was home alone. Out of nowhere came a thud, thump, thump, repeatedly from our den. It was rhythmic and rather loud. I let it run its course, and for a moment, before becoming frustrated, I yelled, "Eric, please, I'm trying to do my homework." It stopped, and I swear, that was almost a regretful sigh afterwards. I've also seen the same spirit in several places, which has led my friend to believe he's my guardian. He has startled me once at school by appearing in the doorway to our recreation room. Naturally, only I could see it, which caused me to move from the line of running freshmen, who would have otherwise run into me. I'm planning to do an EVP as soon as I get an external mic for my recorder. In another story, a small home located in the suburb of Chicago houses a very strange spirit. The room I stay in while visiting my grandparents' house is across the hall from what used to be my uncle's and now deceased. Every now and then, the hanging doors in the closet will sway, even when there is no draft nor air conditioner. In the night, there will be occasional whispering. The spirit has never appeared to be malicious, which has led me to believe it is the spirit of my uncle. Though the house was built during World War II, there is no other reasonable explanation. Another story I have is a story I'm sure many people have. It begins on a warm summer day upon the Queen Mary, which is permanently docked in Long Beach, California. I was visiting with my grandparents from above story, and my parents and brother, since I've been begging to go for a long time. My grandmother and I just passed the closed-off fitness room, which my parents, brother, and grandfather had stopped at to gawk at. Gran had gone ahead a bit, so I was walking virtually alone. I descended the stairs at the end of the hall, slowly, half because I was tired, half because I was waiting for the group of four to catch up. As I went down, I felt a violent jerk on my backpack, as if someone didn't want me to progress any further. I turned immediately, believing it was my brother being a jerk. There was no one there. As we left, I turned back to the boat to take a final snapshot before departing, knowing it would be a long time before I'd see it again. On the highest point of the boat, closed off to the public, I saw a woman in white with dark hair, her dress blowing in the wind. I thought it was an employee until I looked again, and there was nothing there, and no door through which she could have gone through. Now this last story I'll refer to as Purple and Gold. Luckily for me, this has only happened today, so the details are easy to remember. Of course, every ghost researching person, serious or phony, in this country has heard of the Whaley House, the most haunted house in the United States, whose residents include the playful Yankee Jim and Anna Whaley, whose lavender perfume can occasionally be smelled by visitors and employees alike. I had gone upstairs long before my family did, eager to view the house I had heard so much about. There were only a few of us upstairs at the time, one woman and 3 men, only one of which was wearing any kind of body spray. I sniffed as I passed them. Don't ask why. Impulse, I suppose. Which was Axe, worn by one of the men. I entered the room, which had once been a playhouse, and froze in my tracks. The unmistakable smell of lather perfume hung in the air for a moment, then disappeared. This happened in several points in the house, which can also be confirmed by my mother, who later smelled it in a different area. We also witnessed a moving curtain, which I checked for a draft. There wasn't any. No one had been in the room for a while either. I would have seen them, being I was in the room when the curtain started moving. And those are all my stories. Well then, there goes yet another story where a person refers to someone as their hubby. Seriously guys, we gotta make Hubble telescope like a thing. Like we gotta tell people that they're Hubble telescopes instead of hubbies. So I mean, like, let's do a campaign. Let's do like a GoFundMe. And I don't know why we need money for that, but I mean, you know, that'd be kind of cool. I'm just kidding. Totally don't do that because that doesn't make any sense. Why make a GoFundMe just for people saying a word? You can make it a hashtag on Twitter and like share this video and be like, hashtag, have you gotten your daily dose of Hubble telescopes? Well, watch this video because it is out of this world. It's a space eater of extra proportions. If you actually write that, I'll definitely shout you out in a video. I swear to God. Whoever does that, I'll definitely shout you guys out in the next outro for sure because that would be the most hilarious thing in the world. Anyway, guys, I don't know what I'm saying, honestly. I'm just really happy that I got this video out to you guys. I know I said I would do a theme video if you guys have been following me on Twitter and Instagram. However, I don't know if that's going to happen right now, obviously, with this video. But, you know, it's kind of difficult making theme videos, and I try my best. Also, I got to get those, you know, subscriber submission stories out to you guys, which I know a lot of people have been asking me about that. And don't worry, guys, I'm not ignoring you. I'm not, like, you know, putting it off for any reason other than the fact that I'm behind in my own videos anyway. So, you know, we'll get that all sorted out in the future. Promise you guys. But, you know, until then, comment, like, subscribe, share these videos, you know, any video that you want that you like of mine, or this one, of course, and just kind of, you know, enjoy your time just, you know, being a phantom guy or girl, I guess. Anyway, guys, I gotta go. So, love you guys. Good night, good morning. I'll see you in the next video.